All right, so there's been a lot being said lately about insurance companies, and I guess a lot of it is stemming from the Luigi incident in America some months back. I won't get into whether it's okay to kill insurance executives or not. That's a whole nother thing. But I do want to talk to that whole thing about insurance companies and how scrupulous they can be. Because I've worked in a couple of different insurance companies, and so I've had some experience in how this works. Now, the main thing to know is that insurance companies write their own policies, okay? They write their own terms and conditions. And not only that, they employ insurance underwriters to help craft those terms and conditions. So when an insurance company decides to not pay for something, it's because they have decided to not pay for it, right? They can decide what they pay for and what they don't pay for. Now, of course, insurance companies are businesses, so they're not going to pay for absolutely everything. They need to make their money as well. But when something happens that's supposed to be covered by your policy, that should be covered by your policy, at least according to all the stuff that you've read. However, your insurance company decides to point out some clause in some section of the terms and conditions that means that they're not covering it. That is deliberate. By and large, a lot of times they're banking on the fact that you're not going to read the terms and conditions. They're going to send it to you, but you're not going to read them. If you got your policy over the phone, the agent might read out some highlights from the terms and conditions, but it always says something like, I'm going to read you a brief section of the terms and conditions. The full documents will be sent to you in the post for you to read. It always says stuff like that, but they're somewhat banking on the fact that you're not going to read it. If you do it online, they're going to present you with the terms and conditions, and then you're most likely just going to scroll all the way down without actually reading and click OK. Now, the truth is, you should be reading the terms and conditions, but let's keep it real. You're not going to. And ideally, you shouldn't really have to, because ideally there shouldn't be anything in the terms and conditions that prevents you from claiming something that should normally fall under your policy. If you have a health insurance policy and they tell you that they don't cover any pre-existing conditions, but you get something that isn't a pre-existing condition, it should be covered. But some insurance companies are scrupulous, and they will purposefully put wording in their terms that ultimately means that there is a very, very small amount of things that they actually cover, if anything at all. So I guess the question is, what can you do about it? And the answer? Read the terms and conditions. I know you're not going to. And truth be told, even though I'm saying this, I probably won't bother read them either. So if you're not going to read the terms and conditions, then only deal with insurance companies that you know are above board. Just because a policy is cheap, that doesn't mean it's good. In fact, oftentimes it's cheap for a reason. I ain't saying you got to go get the most expensive policy out there, but just deal with companies that are above board. Ask your friends if they've had any experience with this particular company. Look online and see what people are saying there. But yeah, you either spend time reading the terms and conditions of all the different companies, or you do your research. Either way, you pick a struggle. Because if you're not doing either of those, then it's a risk. And you might just find yourself paying into something for them to just abandon you when you need it most.